Building a sanctuary, urban industrial land transformation in the city of Cleveland. City of Cleveland used to be one of the most prosperous business centers in the U.S. However, after both worldwide and nationwide markets and policy change, Cleveland as well as other steel cities have now become Rust Belt cities that share several difficulties. For example, population loss, lack of education, and high unemployment rate. However, climate change seems to be bringing these cities new opportunities. Studies have shown that the surrounding area of big water bodies tend to experience milder impacts from climate change, which will probably make Cleveland one of the destinations of climate migration. Solving existing urban problems and then preparing the city to be ready to embrace more population becomes important. Brownfields as well as other underused industrial lands are the heritage of that great time. The brownfield rate of Cleveland is much higher than the entire state. If we could use brownfields and underused industrial lands to deal with climate change, it is possible that more people would have jobs, food, shelters, and a more stable life. Therefore, this project was intended to find a systematic way of transforming industrial lands or brownfields into a real sanctuary that both human and nature could benefit from in 2050. As mentioned, Cleveland is likely to be the climate haven in the future, but there are still foreseeable impacts of climate change that need to be considered. More extreme temperature events, as well as more precipitation, are expected to happen in Cleveland in 2050. More inland flooding is also expected with water level decline of Lake Erie. Moreover, Cleveland already has a very high population density. Public health is going to be a huge consideration when climate immigrants flood into Cleveland. So I started analyzing the current conditions of Cleveland from demographic, social, and public health perspectives. And I found this area that is more likely to have serious conflicts. Within this area, there's a big underused industrial land where I decided to pilot my systematic transformation design strategies. Zoom into this focus area. It is very typical industrial land with Optum Minerals, Cleveland Slag, and a timber company. The context analysis showed that there are a lot of residential areas and potential ecological habitats nearby. However, this site is a big barrier among habitats with soil contamination, especially heavy metals, which might cause a public health crisis and loss of ecosystem services. With climate change bringing more population and other negative impacts, the situation might get worse. Therefore, I propose an idea of building a sanctuary where people can have a safer life, both physically and mentally, and the ecosystems will be restored to be an important ecological corridor connecting other habitats. There are 4 key things on the site that needed to be taken care of. First, soil contamination. In Phase 1, soil evacuation and refill will be done on the less contaminated area, where it does not have slag piles. In Phase 2, the slag piles will be first removed and transformed into construction materials. Then a series of bioremediation measures will be taken on the contaminated area to restore healthy ecosystems. As for the existing buildings, Cleveland Slag will be demolished and other companies will be relocated, and the construction will be kept for future use. The train tracks will be turned into carriage shopping plaza and track sculpture plaza to commemorate the history of the site. The limited green space on the slope as the healthiest place will serve as a nature play area. Facing 2050, urban agriculture will be introduced to produce more foods. Commercial areas, affordable housing, and new underground transportation system will be built into existing construction, as well as an underground water treatment plant to capture and purify stormwater and sanitary sewage and generate renewable energy. Various open spaces will also be introduced to fulfill people's needs. To cope with more extreme weather events, urban woods and prairie will be introduced, Riparian zones and natural banks will be restored to bring more permeable surfaces and high-quality habitats. Moreover, the shell will be installed on the site to moderate temperature and generate renewable energy. All the measures are expected to bring more jobs in both short-term and long-term, and better life to more people. The shells are a site of boards which could prevent extreme sun and wind exposure and generate solar and wind power. Vertical graining on the board would provide cooler air in the summer, while fire lamps powered by biofuels could provide warmness in the cold winters. Different heights and combinations of the shells are also possible. The locations of the boards could be easily changed according to the wind direction and the sun path. Here are some possible locations proposed for summer and winter. In terms of the bioremediation, after the slag pile and the factory are removed, hyperaccumulation plants for heavy metals like the sunflowers and the geraniums will be introduced. The microorganisms will be introduced to do intrinsic bioremediation. When there are a decent result of these two steps, habitat restoration will then begin in Phase 2. In Phase 1, the site was divided into 3 main areas. The contaminated area is under bioremediation process, and after soil evacuation and refuel, the less contaminated area will be designed into 2 large open spaces, the vibrant area and the peaceful area. The main entrance is right next to nearby communities, so that residents have the most convenient access to their desired open spaces. In the peaceful area, people could easily find an enclosed or a quiet place to read or enjoy meditation. The lower graded area could be both farmland and wetland to produce food or mitigate seasonal inland flooding. The boardwalk built on the vegetated slope enables people to enjoy the peace of nature. In the vibrant area, people could work out and do their favorite sports on the multiple sports fields. They could also go shopping in the multi-use center or hang out with friends at surrounding outdoor small business. Children's playground was also designed around a small vegetated slope so that children could play with nature and their friends. Phase 2 is mainly about ecological restoration. The hilltop multi-used area will be the biggest gathering spot with several waterfront plazas for people to do water sports or get close to water. Urban woods are developed from existing green space as well as the prairie areas. All existing banks will be transformed into natural banks accordingly, and the added platform or boardwalk will provide habitats for fish and microinvertebrates. Riparian zones are also planned to be restored for providing more habitats and erosion control. I hope you enjoy the summer of the sanctuary and the winter of the sanctuary. Thank you.